Hello and welcome back to our channel, your cat and dog destination. In this video, it's going to be a bit more of a personal one where I'm going to talk about my experience with adopting my dog Fred online and kind of give some tips on how to ensure that it's a safe and positive experience. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I'm going to go from start to finish on how I ended up with this baby that's the love of my life. Can I have a kiss? Thank you. Very slobbery. So this is Fred, my almost 7-year-old Rottweiler Mastiff cross that I adopted 6 years ago. And I kind of wanted to go back and tell you the whole story of how we ended up getting Fred and everything there is to tell about him. So we had always had smaller, fluffier dogs growing up. And I had said to my mom, I want to get a bigger dog. I wanted to rescue a dog or get a dog, not a puppy. I wanted to get a dog that was like at least a year or older. So we start looking online. My mom finds a few. We wanted a male and we go and see a few. Some just there wasn't the fit. I didn't like the temperament of the dog. We went and saw one dog that I thought was absolutely beautiful, very big. And as we're walking it, the dog starts biting me and my sister, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't want a big dog. Maybe I can't handle a big dog. So then I just said to my mom, you know what, I want to put this on hold. We can look later. And then a couple weeks go by and my mom shows me this picture of Fred, which his name wasn't Fred. We changed it. And I was like, to be honest, his pictures weren't the best. Like, he didn't look that cute. They were like in dark areas and you couldn't really tell what he looked like. So my mom's like, we're going to see him. And I said, fine, we'll go see him. So we went there on a Saturday and we're driving there. It was like an hour and a half away from our house. And we like pull up and I'm like, Mom, is this really the house? And it was in like a very sketchy neighborhood, and like we knock on the door, there's bars on all the windows. I'm like, okay. And they just like open the door just enough so that they can be like, we'll meet you around the back. And then they close the door. Okay. So then they bring Fred out and they had this like pole thing in the ground, and then it had like a leash attached to it, and they would leave him on that. And I mean, there was a lot of traffic, like of people walking around back and forth in that area. So I could tell by the way he was reacting that he had been tormented by like pedestrians walking by. And so that was kind of sad. And he was kind of skittish at the beginning. And then we took him for a walk. He was not so great on the leash. And when we were walking, there was like this one guy that had, he was raking his leaves on the other side of the street, and Fred freaked out, started barking, going crazy. I'm like, whoa, like I don't want a dog that I can't walk. So like we went back and my mom was talking and I was like, yeah, no, like he's not the dog for me. And so I got in the car and I'm like, I don't want to get Fred. I don't, that wasn't his name. His name was, what was your name? Crone. And so I was like, no, I don't want to get him. And then my mom gets in, she's like, we're picking him up next week. I'm like, oh, great. Okay, glad my opinion matters. So anyways, I was like, fine, I better get on board with this. We're getting him. So I wanted to show my friend his post online. And so I went to pull up his ad and I noticed that the lady who had him had changed the price. She had upped it by like $100. And I think he was $300 or something. He was not a lot of money. Mind you, he was not neutered. And I don't think he had any of his shots. And so I'm like, that's really weird. So I thought that was kind of sketchy. And then my mom's like, I'm calling her. We're going to pick him up today. And to just go back a little bit, when we got there and we're meeting Fred and like they were telling us his backstory, they were his third home in a year. So he was a year old. He had come from a family of like they had little kids and he stayed outside all the time, and they were going through a divorce, so he was kind of left outside. And then the neighbor of those people, this is a story we got, took him, and then they couldn't like he was just too big of a dog. And then that neighbor's nephew took him, and that's where we ended up. Like, that was who had posted the ad and we had seen him through. So he had been in 3 homes in a year. We were going to be his 4th and final home. So we go and we pick him up, and I wasn't able to go there, and we picked him up, and I get a picture of like him in the back of the car, and he looks so happy, and I was like, okay, this is our dog. And then I get home, and he's very, very hyper. Like, we have other dogs, and he was so excited, and he was peeing every 2 minutes because the food that he was on was garbage. So he was drinking so much water because it was just overwhelming for him. And then like he just kept like running around, and he ended up like, he was like itching himself, and we're like, what the heck? So we look at him, and it turns out that he had fleas. So we had to go and he's a big baby. We had to go and bath him that night that we just got him. Like, he had already been through enough, and then we had to give him a bath. And so it was a lot for him, but he got his forever home. I just wanted to share the story of Fred and kind of touch on the things that you need to be careful with online, because there are a lot of scammers out there. And so a few points just before I end the video. 1, make sure you always see the dog before you put a deposit down on it. You want to walk the dog. Ask as many questions as you can about that dog. Make sure you're ready for the dog. And if you want the dog, I wouldn't wait to get it. Like, you never know. It's hard to feel out if the other person who's like has the dog up for adoption is being genuine. But because I got him online directly through the other person, it's a bit more of a sketchy situation. Whereas if you're adopting a dog through a rescue, like, it's a way more structured process where you have to be vetted, you have to be interviewed, you have to give references. They sometimes do a home check. And so that's when like, it's a lot safer and more positive experience. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend getting a dog the way I got Fred. It was my journey to find him, and I'm so happy that we did find him. But in terms of like, I don't think I would go online to find other dogs. There's a lot of scammers out there, like a lot, and you do just have to be very careful because you don't know the person, you don't know the dog's story. Like, when we took Fred to the vet, he had rabies tags on, and they pulled up the number, and it wasn't even his. So like, you just never know what you're getting, so you need to be really careful. And I think we're going to do a whole video about talking about, finding a good breeder rescue, so watch out for that. But yeah, if you're adopting a dog online, like, there's a lot of factors, and you need to be willing to be okay with rescuing a dog that's going to come with some issues. Like, Fred has, when we first got him, he had a lot of issues with men. He would freak out if a guy came in the house with a baseball cap on. He'd bark at them. And like, my mom's fiance one time was taking off his belt, and Fred like cowered to the ground. He was so scared. And it's so sad because it's like, that's like past trauma, and he gets upset and he's very fearful. So you do, like, I had to take him to training. We had to do he came in second though in your training, didn't you? You were such a good boy. So yeah, you just have to be willing to deal with a dog that's gonna have some baggage and gonna have some past trauma. But rescuing a dog, like, the reward is absolutely amazing to see how far he's come. Like, we moved to the country, and like, he doesn't have to be on a leash when he's on our property, and he just loves his life, and he loves laying in the sun, and oh my god, it can make me cry. But he's like brought me so much joy, and he's just like, adopting a dog is the absolute best. I hope hearing the story of Fred has, kind of made you realize that there are pros and cons to adopting a dog online, and that rescuing is different than adopting a puppy. But you know, you have to do what's best for your family, but if you're open to it and you're willing to put in the time and effort into adopting an older dog, Fred was a year old when we got him, then it can be an amazing experience. So I hope that you enjoyed listening to this video. It was a bit rambly, I know, but if you have any comments, please feel free to leave them below about Fred or any other questions you have about my experience. And if you've adopted your dog online, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.